there. Welcome to Everyone Can Jam. If you're joining us for the first time, we're in the middle of a series, and this is actually a pretty good place to just jump right in. But if you want to go back to the beginning of this series where we start talking about chords and things to do to progress while we're waiting for our chords to start sounding better, you could go to the link in the description under this video, and there's a link to the playlist for this whole series. There's also a link to my website where you can go to sign up for my email list. That's how you get to my PDFs, and that's how you learn about my online guitar school. So this lesson is meant to be something that works for absolute beginners. Just the very basic, where's the root of the chord, and maybe a little bit about what we mean by root of the chord. And then in the next lesson, we'll develop and learn more about roots and neat things we can do with them. And in some of the other lessons, we learned about why roots, knowing your roots can help you learn your way around the guitar fretboard and do lots of things for you that I know you're going to want to do. So let's just learn what we mean by talking about roots. This is a C major scale. I'm going to sing a C major scale to make sure it's clear what this is. C, D, F, G, A, B, C. When we play a song, it's made out of a scale, or it's made out of these relationships. If we take any major scale, this is a C major scale, and we take the first note, the third note, and the fifth note. So we take C, E, and G. These three notes here, we say that's how you spell a C chord. So when I play this shape, this note here is a C, this note here is an E, third string open is a G, here's another C. All these strings are either C's or E's or G's. And the C is the root. I think it's really important to learn where your roots are really early, especially if your chords are coming along slowly. It gives you something valuable to do with your time. So let's go ahead. What I'm suggesting is that and it's okay if you don't know these shapes yet or if you can't make them, but what I'm really suggesting is a strategy for learning. When you learn a chord shape, go ahead and learn where the root is. This is an open string on the E chord, and think of that as a spot. Think of this as part of the shape. So the way that translates to the guitar is I'm playing an E chord. The name of the chord is E. If I play my sixth string open, that's an E note. The note is named E, the chord is named E, so this is the root. I'm going to focus mostly on the low roots. There's other roots. This is an E also. That's an E also, but we're focusing on what we would use to play bass notes. Okay, so I like to think of the open strings as living in this spot right here. That'll help your brain if you just kind of give it a spot, just like on this chart. So this spot means open string, but if you think of this as part of the shape, that can help you in the long run. So let's look at our A chord. So this is telling us that the root of our A chord is the fifth string open. I like to play A chord usually with these three fingers. A chord, fifth string open is an A note. So this is where my root is. But think of it as here, okay? Like it is in the PDF. Remember, you can get these PDFs by looking in the description and clicking on my website, signing up for my mailing list. Here's a D shape, and if we know that the fourth string open is a D note, then one thing we talk about in the other lessons is how we can, while we're waiting for our chords to either sound better or we're waiting for our hands to be able to change fast enough, I think it's really great to just, if you are looking at a chart or if you are playing with other people or playing along with a recording, if you know that it's time for the D chord, just play the root of the chord if you can't make the whole chord. And then if you know it's time for A chord, play the root of the chord. And that develops a lot of important things, like knowing when to change chords. There's a lot of people who their chords sound great, they can change fast, but they don't know when to change. And what you really want to do is experience participating in the music. I don't want you to wait until your chords sound good before you start participating. That participation is going to develop a lot of things, and then those things can already be in place when your chords start to sound better. The other thing I want to point out, I'm not going to explain it, but I'm just going to point out, we just played 3 chords. We played A chord, and the root was the open A string. We played a D chord. The root was the open 4th string. We played an E chord. The root was the open E string and A. So what I want you to notice, what I just did, we could say is in the key of A. You don't have to remember this. But if we had a whole song going on here and I was just playing the roots, I'd be playing A and then D. Notice where my left hand is. I could play all those roots with no left hand. That's part of the information. And the other relationship I want you to notice is that if we think of these roots as having a location on the guitar, they're all open strings here in this row. These 3 chords go together in our songs, okay? Like if we're in the key of A, you'll be playing E and D and E a lot, and that is a good thing to know too, to get familiar with which chords sound good together and make songs together, okay? So if we were to think of these roots as having a spot, then we have a root to the D chord right here. We have a root to the A chord right here and a root to the E chord right here. They're all just right next to each other. That might make a little more sense. If that feels weird, just let it go. It's not important to remember that right now. Might make a little more sense though after we look at these chord shapes. Let's start with G. Now we have roots that are not open strings. Now our root to the G chord is this spot right here. Let me show it to you on the chart again. Here's the G shape, and I named that one R for root. And let's look at the C shape. This spot here is a C note. This is a C chord, so this is the root. And this chart shows you, in case you forget, right there is a C note, and that is the root. And on the F chord, the root is on the 4th string, 3rd fret. So let me show you the F chord. This is not about playing F chord right now, okay? This is about roots. So even if F is a hard one, by the way, it's okay to wait on F for a while, but learning the shape is important, because knowing shapes and patterns and relationships is what really frees you in guitar, and you don't have to wait to learn that. You don't have to wait till you can play the thing. Here's an F chord. This spot right here is 4th string, 3rd fret, okay? That's my root. It's an F note. This is an F chord. Something I want you to notice, I arranged the chords this way on purpose. These 3 chords sound good together. So if you practice these 3 chords together, you'll be making something that sounds like music. Even if you just play the roots of these chords, you will be hearing relationships that make sense musically. And you could play, if you have a song that's in the key of C, usually if you were to look up 3 chord songs and just where it says C chord, you could play the C note, and where it says F chord, you could play the F note or the root. When it says G chord, you could play the G note. I want you to notice on the guitar how that looks. The G is here. That's the root of the G chord. The C is here, root of the C chord. The root of the F chord is here, all on the same fret. That is an important relationship. I don't want to explain it, but I just want you to notice that, okay? That's something I wish I had noticed a long time before I did. Comes in handy. Okay, and the only letter we haven't covered yet is B. So, oh, I just realized on my PDF, I forgot to color in the dots for B7, but I'll color those in before I post it. And when you print yours, you'll have the B7 shape, which you may or may not be familiar with. It's like starting here, every other string. Okay. So this spot right here is B note. So that spot right there is the root of your B7 chord. B7 is the one you're going to play more often, but I also wanted to cover this B shape, which there's a lot of ways of doing that, but I'm just going to do it not like a bar chord, just playing these 3 strings like I did with A and then putting a finger there on the B. And I also want to talk real quick about modifying. You don't have to play when you run into difficulty with your chords. Just be free to know that you don't have to play every string in that shape, okay? So you might be shown this shape, but a lot of times what I do is I just play, let me show you one here. A lot of times I just play, if I need a B that's not a B7, I just play this, this, and this. Let me show you that. See? And I wanted to show you another, when I was working on this lesson, here's another way of just playing part of the chord. Even if the song calls for a B7, you could do this, and I'm going to show it to you in a minute. Just don't even play that string and that string, and just play this one, and this one. See how there's an X there too? Now the only thing about leaving strings out is it does require developing the right hand. Either developing the right hand so you're finger picking and you're only picking those strings, or with the pick, flat pick, or developing the left hand to where you can mute some strings on purpose. So I realize this is not Simple Simon. I just want you to get thinking that we can modify our chords. So this is a modified B chord. It could work for B or B7. And I'll show you how it sounds quite nice in a song. So instead of playing the normal B7 shape, sorry it's not colored in yet, I'm just going to play 3 of the strings. Instead of playing this whole shape, I'm just going to play this string and this string, and I'm only going to need those 2 fingers. And that's what I've shown on this chart right here. It's just this. And because I love finger picking, now I realize this for some people is not an option until you learn your finger picking, but I'm just going to pluck this string, 5th string, 3rd string, and 2nd string. And those 3 notes can do a lot. Let me show you how it works in a song that some of my students play. I heard there was a secret chord. I'm going to skip ahead because I don't want to get in trouble for copyright. We can do this. You can't copyright a chord progression. It goes like this: the 4th, the 5th, the minor 4, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah. I just played those 3 strings for my B chord. We're running out of time. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time for Beyond Beginner.